Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today we're going to really talk about, it feels like the first step, but it's each time first step, because we know that getting more familiar with our inner life is so nurturing and developing and strengthening. So for some of you watching, you may never have really meditated before, or you're just beginning to be interested. And for many of you, this is long-term practices. So I think this speaks to all of us, even with a long-term practice. You can find yourself, especially during this time, either taking up more practice or forgetting that you didn't practice. So let's look at what I'll call taking the baby steps, the first steps, that we have an inner life, that we have something to nurture. And so we can look at the moments in our lives that call us inward. The moments of you've planted a vegetable garden, and all of a sudden it seems, even though you've looked morning and evening, all of a sudden there's something that makes you just stop and pause with astonishment. You listen more clearly, you look in a more defined way, or your gaze actually opens to it and you see it in a vitalized way. That's a moment of being called in. It might be holding a dear one's hand. And there's something that releases inside of you, and something that all the little prickly things or all the chatter comes to a rest. And it's like you can enter into yourself as you're connecting with another's hand, the warmth of their hand, the texture, the size. That's a calling to be inward, to listen that there is something going on in there that calls you to rest, to pause, to sense, to become present to what is alive within and what is alive without, almost simultaneously. Think of something in your lives right now, maybe even in the last 2 days, that sort of stopped your world. The call of birds, an unexplained long pausing, even a pain in the body. Something you tasted that was so rich and so nourishing. That there's a pausing to take it in, there's a pausing, a reflecting, a re-sensing, renewing, uncovering. Those are first steps of knowing that something is calling you to come back to your practice, or to begin a practice of listening. Oftentimes, my husband Russell, in the last, I don't know if it's the last 5 or 10 years, but speaks about not even liking to use the word meditation. because it has so many meanings to so many different people, and there's so many good aspects and negative aspects, and really rather to form a practice of just listening, just sitting under certain conditions. Not strict conditions, but life-giving conditions. So to be called inside, to begin to notice when that call is there, and then to begin to show up for the call, to respond to the call. And so for some moments, maybe the next 5 minutes, a little bit of responding to the call, to listen, to breathe, one of our first entryways into the pause, this sort of a letting go, a dropping in. Probably notice something in the shoulders changes. You may even sense the back of your neck is a little longer. Just listening. Just listening. Oh, there's an in-breath. And my eyes are slightly open. I'm going to just lower them a little so that you can see that it almost appears as if I have my eyes closed, but my eyes are glancing at a, I don't know, maybe four feet in front of me on the ground area, not focusing, soft gaze. And I'm listening for that call inside. And I'm also called outside from time to time, and in those I go away, and then I'm called inside again. And I listen for the call. Because I feel that the more sensitive we become to our listening, the more often we hear that call. And just saying that, there's a deep breath. And I'm feeling my seatedness. And now my legs, my feet on the ground. I'm sitting in a chair. Nothing spectacular about that. Noticing my sitting bones that we talked about before, but I'm not making myself sit on my sitting bones. I just know I'm there, and that is through years and years and years of practice. So going back through those videos, practicing those steps becomes your best friend, because you know what it means to go inside, to nurture and enliven, to be supported, to take time, have time be your friend into the timeless. Now my breath is beginning to bring a kind of spaciousness inside. There's more, a bigger living room. It's a beautiful place, nothing to be frightened about. It's a beautiful, beautiful, open, spacious place inside. Every breath can open a window there, a doorway. It's like quality air. When we have that time to go inside, it's like being in first class on an airplane or being in a 5-star hotel room for free. Because we're giving ourselves this gift of listening and quietude. A certain moment in our breathing, over time, you'll get a sense that the breath actually drops down into the lower belly after, I don't know, a few moments. It seems like a few moments. Then you can just really enjoy the time you have. There's so many ways to be free and to have what is really your birthright. The freedom to be inward, the freedom to relate to silence, the freedom to pause and not be on the little mouse cage going around and around and around. To get off the train of thought and the wheel of busyness. Best wishes on your practices, whether they're brand new or ancient. Stepping off the train of thought into the world of wonder. Have a marvelous, marvelous week.